Hello and welcome to the next episode of Forward Finance, the podcast where we navigate the digital age of finance. So today we will be talking about not necessarily a financial topic, because we will be talking about ESG. It's something very related to our financial core process, but it is different in nature. So we have a new expert at the table. Today with me here will be Tim and Wim. And we will be talking about everything regarding the ESG working space. Yeah, we select people based on their name, so so it matches well.
Yeah, so the next one will be Pim.
Definitely.
Sorry.
Yeah. So welcome, and let's dive into the topic.
I think Germans say it's Chefsache. So when the board really realizes, okay, this could hurt, we could lose our biggest customers when we don't fix this. So. And one of our customers, we really had the first year we helped them with this process. It was the sustainability department doing the kickoff. The second year, it was the CEO doing the kickoff. And he was not there for typically the half an hour hi and bye. This is very important, guys, but I have 10 other things on my agenda. But no, this guy stayed the entire day in the meeting, making sure that everybody was paying attention.
All right, welcome guys. Why don't you give a brief introduction about yourself so the people that are listening know who is talking. Tim, why don't you start?
Yeah, my name is Tim Ahmad and I've been implementing EPN solutions since the dinosaur ages. Sorry, it's a joke, but had to get in there, a long time, quarter of a century. So it is a dinosaur in this industry. But I love connecting with people, networking, socially influencing, name it. So, and people are hungry for information at the moment. And this is a really interesting, relevant topic.
Yeah, it's new topic. Everybody has to learn something new, I guess. However, when we say it's new, it's not necessarily new. And I think we will touch on that with Wim later. But Wim, why don't you give a short introduction about yourself?
Yeah. I think we have something similar or in common. I'm also from the dinosaur ages. So I implemented performance management solutions for 25 years or something like that. So started off with good old Hyperion Pillar for those of you that might still know it. Great product. You always love your first product, don't you? Yeah. So for me, that was my first performance management love. So went a long way, and today my role is more of a enterprise performance management architect. So I advise clients on what to use, where, what the vision should be, and what they already have on their shelves. It's always quite impressive, I think. Yeah, and ESG, I think it's a very relevant topic, and for a lot of people in the finance audience, it used to be that maybe it was somewhere at a different department, but now it's really coming to them. So we get a lot of questions on that topic.
Yeah, I see a lot of my customers with their hands in their hair, like how do I approach this particular topic? It's a very relevant topic now with regulations coming up. Yeah. So I think all finance professionals and basically business professionals are somewhat related to ESG because it covers a lot of different departments within your organization. So let's dive into that. One of the repeating topics on this podcast is what kind of events have you been going through to see what was relevant for the last few days and what is coming up. So Tim, why don't you start?
So it's interesting enough, I've done lots of events, doing different events, and this might be the case. Is it the fact that the community not doing as much as we should think? But I have been to no events.
No events, okay.
And I'd like to go to events. So in that sense, is it because of the knowledge or what's going on? But yeah, definitely something we need to tackle.
Yeah.
How about you, Wim?
We recently organized an event actually called Non-Financials for Financials. Yeah. One of our sister companies hosted that entire. And it was really a nice event because what you see there is all these finance people. They are now moving more and more into this non-financial space, and of course, only finance people can call this non-financial reporting. Anybody else in another function would never come up with the terminology of non-financial reporting. But and at this event, you meet people that are really looking for answers and. How much is there needed for compliance? What regulations are really coming? But also, the thing that we put on the table here is what technology can we use for this, or can we just solve it in our current solutions? So people are really digging into this, and some of the customers I met, they have made their first moves.
Yeah.
So the really visionaries made moves long time ago.
Yeah, because ESG is not necessarily new, right?
No. I think, of course, the acronym ESG is something that is hot and happening these days.
Yeah.
But I think we implemented the first really non-financial reporting, then more CSR reporting, I think more than 10 years ago. So the visionaries that put sustainability at the core of their strategy and really want to make a difference, being the sustainable leader in their industry. Yep. They implemented these processes a long time ago. But they were more driven by vision than by compliance. And
it's an
I think
intrinsic motivation, maybe.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sure. And now we have an extrinsic push coming from the regulations. So a lot of people are now have to comply, basically, coming with the new regulations. So that moves more people, you think?
Yeah, and it's regulations on one hand.
Yeah.
And it's also financial stakeholders.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of private equity funds now going to their portfolio companies and say, okay, you need to bring more ESG data to the table, because they collect their funds from sources that really say, okay, this is an important topic for us. So any money that we put on the table should be invested within these metrics, these frameworks. Yeah.
Cool. Tim, I think you've done some market research on ESG.
Yeah, no, it's quite interesting. I mean, one of the great pulls to ESG, from the market is regulation. Yeah. 56% said, they want to move to it because of regulation. But it's really funny, actually, what's happening. Yeah. So 18% actually doing it really kind of full throttle. Some are 18% have started. Okay. 35% are planning to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the funny figure is 29% no plans to at all.
No plans.
Now, it could be, are they part of the decision-making process, or do they know the repercussions, or are they part of the loop, in the communication? So my take on this is, yes, ESG is out there. It's a hot topic, this and that. But how hot is it really?
Yeah. Well, I think that depends a little bit on who are you talking to. So what you typically see, at board level, it is a hot topic, because they are being, their financial stakeholders are demanding it from them. They are talking to them. They know from all kind of regulations it's coming to them. But not in every organization it has trickled down to the right levels where it's being operationalized. So what you see, in some organizations it's still stuck at the sustainability department, where people say, okay, this is something, this is a sustainability topic, let's put it there. But what you typically see is that the more quantitative side and the reporting and the data collection side is not something that, the people that are working in sustainability, they didn't go working in sustainability to collect data and report upon it. So there's what you typically see, is that these sustainability people then are turning their heads and looking around in the organization, who can help me? And guess who is there to help them, or who has the skills to do it and maybe the systems to do it? It's finance. But then if there is one group in a company that is typically not the early adopter of these kind of topics, etc., and of course this is not true in every case, but
exceptions are always there, of course.
Exceptions are always there, but then you see there is some pushback from finance. We have got enough on our plate. We have to do the annual report, all the stuff that's there. So all this new stuff, and it's not yet clear, and regulations are yet being made, and it's developing very fast. Well, maybe go somewhere else. So that's so I think that the 30% of the respondents, 29%, something like that. I think my advice to them would be, go and talk to your sustainability peers in your organization. Ask them, what are you doing? What are you doing about this topic? Or ask your CFO, how are we moving with, for instance, CSRD? What are we doing there? What is our plan? Because
I think it's interesting that you mentioned like the CFO. I think within the finance communities, I see a lot of things, people saying it should be the CFO's responsibility to report on ESG. How do you guys think about that? Yeah,
ESG, the acronym ESG is actually, it's coming from the finance community. It's a term that comes from investors. It's an invention to say so. That really comes from the finance community and should be really top of mind of a CFO. But when you double click on ESG, you will see that it is such a broad topic. Literally every function within your organization should be involved in a ESG alternative, because it's about all social aspects. So HR is there. It's about all resources that you use. So procurement should be there. It's about operations, because it's about energy consumption in your operations. So every person in the organization should be involved. But I think when you look at the end stage of it all, ESG is a topic where finance should own the part where you start reporting to the outside world and to your financial stakeholders.
Yeah. So it's part of regulatory compliance. Is it also part of like the annual report, or how do you? What's going on there?
Part of the regulations is that there will be all kind of obligations to disclose this information in your annual report, of course.
And we already see the big four accountancy firms already recruiting for ESG controllers and stuff like that. So it's really coming. And if you are not doing anything about it, you're really going to lag behind.
And of course, companies can take different views on this or different strategies. You can decide to be a leader and really be ahead of the compliance curve, and take this up as an opportunity to really make a difference in your own market. Or you can be more sort of a laggard and make sure you comply, but that's it. Take that approach. I think the latter approach is a bit risky, because what we typically see, companies that at first take that laggard approach and say, okay, we will comply when we need to, and maybe legislation can be postponed a little bit. We are all used to that. We all know it, that you get 1 year extra, 2 years extra. But then they are surprised because one of their big customers, for instance, they take the lead approach, and they demand from their suppliers that they deliver that information. And then you really have to cut corners to keep that customer on board and really bring all the data together.
So it's a competitive risk as well, you say?
Sure. You see a lot of supply chain reactions in this field. So, for instance, we have customers that are in the fast-moving consumer good business. So they sell their goods to retailers. And one of the big retailers in the market is really pushing this. So they are demanding from all their suppliers that they are able to report their Scope 3 emissions. When you then take the laggard approach, you risk losing a part of your business because of the biggest customer you might have is there. And that's where you really see that, for instance, board members are stepping up, because I think Germans say it's Chefsache. So when the board really realizes, okay, this could hurt, we could lose our biggest customers when we don't fix this. So and one of our customers, we really had The first year we helped them with this process. It was the sustainability department doing the kickoff. The second year, it was the CEO doing the kickoff. And he was not there for typically the half an hour, hi and bye, this is very important guys, but I have 10 other things on my agenda. But no, this guy stayed the entire day in the meeting, making sure that everybody was paying attention. Mm-hmm. And so that really got a different level of importance to it. Yeah, so that's really what you see happening.
Well, you see a lot of buy-in basically on the board level of these types of companies.
Yeah.
In order to stay relevant, you have to at least invest.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And then I think there's a common misconception that ESG is European regulations.
Yeah. Well, CSRD is a European regulation, but what you see is that every geography is creating their own regulation. And I think that's a bit different with financial reporting. Yeah? I've spent as the dinosaurs that we are, we spend a lot of time in finance, I think, or finance-related processes. When you compare that the finance reporting consolidation stuff with ESG, there is a huge difference, because in finance we are used to having the IFRS standards or US GAAP, and that's about it.
Strict standards, what we can adhere to, and that
Dutch GAAP, and that in our geography, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But when you move to the ESG arena, there are 20 or 30 different taxonomies, standards, definition sets being used. And how is that? Well, every stakeholder group has developed their own kind of framework, standards, etc.
Yeah.
So that brings a lot of complexity to the table, and also drives the volume of data that you need to collect and report on, etc. To an enormous amount. And you need to be smart to make sure that this is not becoming another bureaucracy in your own organization, where you are asking people to calculate the emissions of your cars. You need your fuel usage. Well, you need to be aware that you don't ask these same questions 20 times in your own organization, because then
otherwise you get a lot of resistance within your company, I can imagine.
Yeah, people will not do that.
I think the main difference from ESG in comparison to traditional finance processes is that instead of just talking with the financials, you're now talking with the whole organization. And all those departments now have to do something they weren't doing before. So there's like a natural resistance coming up there. So you have to be able to make the process as smooth as possible. And that's where EPM comes in, I think.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, another couple of poll statistics was really interesting. 54% of respondents said it should be built in ESG module in the system they have. Mm-hmm. Or another 33% said have the option of a module of ESG. Yeah. So it says that, we know, maybe they want a bit more kind of information regarding the metrics. So they said, like, when we did a poll, understanding the metrics, is important. The data, the complexity, the collection, so there's a lot of things to go about. So maybe they get into a headache or something like that. So it's up to companies to break it down to manageable portions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a complex subject if you think about it, but we need to make it easy for the people to understand. Mm-hmm. And if there's modules in a system, whether it's Tagetic, OneStream, Board, whoever, that they actually tell about that or have that option in there, and have those kind of, we have to also say what are the penalties that will happen if this don't happen, and what are the penalties? Are there some penalties that they're going to have, or in terms of...
What I see from my customers at least is that typical EPM processes involve, like, I have to key in or import in my statements, my financial statements, and that's something that a financial is used to. So we are, as financials, used to working with Excel sheets and inputting data there. Mm-hmm. But what I see from the ESG projects that I've been involved with now, the people that are are responsible for keying in the data, they are not familiar with working with Excel sheets. So you basically get this data collection part, which is really tough for the different various departments that are involved in the process, because they don't know how to work with these systems, and they need to, because we have to make sure that our reports are accurate. So there is some layer in between the non-financial departments and the finance departments that we need to bridge in order to get the right data in. What do you feel about that, Wim?
Yeah, I totally agree, because what you typically see, for instance, take on all if you take the S from ESG, social, then you typically see that a lot of HR people are involved throughout your organizations.
Yeah.
Well, if you bring a typical EPM solution to their desktop, to their laptop, to their tablet, whatever, they really have a hard time to work with that. They are not used to using these Excel sheets, these more or less rigid workflows that we know because you need it for a finance process. These are people that are, they are HR people working with people. They went to HR because they want to work with people. So collecting this data and working with these sheets and that data collection is not something that's really close to their nature. And that's also what we see then. What typically happens is that a controller becomes a node in a network, and where all these other functions just send spreadsheets, data dumps to these controllers, and this local controller then has to make sure it ends up in the EPM system in a proper way. And I don't think that's really a best practice and something that's very sustainable, to say so.
That doesn't sound like the basis of a good and smooth process to me.
No, and not only that, but it will also be a threat for your assurance, because also the new regulations that are coming are driving a need for assurance. You already talked about auditors, but everybody needs to have what we call reasonable assurance somewhere. So this level of assurance will be hard, of course, if you have this nice EPM system with all these KPIs in it, but underneath there's this big Excel hushy-mushy, flushy thing, where you don't have a real audit trail. When was this data extracted? Did not anybody make corrections in there because they didn't like the figures that much? Who did what, when? You can only see that at the node use level. So I understand that people somewhere in the process would like to have it all together in their beautiful EPM solution. I think that's good. But I think just as with finance, you need something like a layer underneath it. As in finance, we have accounting systems doing the accounting for us, and these are connected to our ERP systems or whatever, and that all rolls up to our EPM system. In this, it would be funny if in this topic you would have an EPM system, but also the EPM system would act like the accounting system and the ERP system that you need. So I think we need some adjustment there.
So it's basically a mindset again, where people think that from the EPM market, this is what we need, but there's actually a layer beneath that we have to address as well. Yeah. And what kind of things do you see then in the market? Yeah,
there is an enormous market now.
Logical.
There is and they have been around for 10 years, but they were typically solutions used by the sustainability department. So CSR, corporate sustainability reporting solutions. They have been around for quite a while. I think some of them as long as 20 years or something. So and we are back to the dinosaurs again. But okay, let's fast forward to today. So there are a lot of these solutions out there. Some of them cover just one topic. So they are typically just on emissions, or they are just on social. So
you could say best of breed in their own dimension.
In their own category, but then you would need multiple of these solutions for every topic again. But okay, if it's really complex and if you're really a huge scale, that's something that's worth discovering. But there are maybe even 100 of these solutions. available. But I think what is important is when you are when you are using performance management solutions, go talk to your sustainability department. What are you using already? And if they aren't using anything, I think, okay, going the performance management route is logical, since that is the solution that you know.
Yeah.
But I think you need to think again, do you want all that complexity and all these dirty details of, let's say, all your lease cars or all your buildings? Or do you want them all in your EPM system? Or do you need something in between? And there's a great market for that as well. And I think with that layered approach, you will keep the complexity out of your EPM system a little bit, and run that process with all the details that you need in an engine that will do that just fine.
Yeah, it all boils down actually to proper use of the product, right? I mean, you could do you could have your general ledger in an EPM solution, but you don't.
Yeah,
and you could key in your ESG data in EPM solution, but basically your conclusion is don't.
No, I think it was fine when we just started off with a CSR report with just 20, 30, 50 KPIs.
Yeah.
Because you did it just once a year. So you made these calculations somewhere in an Excel. You uploaded your electricity usage. You calculated the emissions, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But now we have to go, for instance, to all these Scope 3 emission calculations. You need to get external data into your system. You probably don't want your suppliers to enter your performance management solution. You don't have a portal where they can, and that's the stuff that a proper sustainability management system that will offer you these opportunities, and that will keep your performance management system nice and clean, and just take what you need from it for your reporting and your non-financial report.
Nice and clean, but it also sounds like a licensing nightmare if you would add all your suppliers to your EPM solution, because a lot of EPM solutions have like a license where you pay per user.
Yep.
And that's not going to be very effective, I think.
Yeah, I think also that, for instance, if you just want to involve all your people from the HR community for these social metrics that we talked about, if you want to involve them, and if you want to, let's say, just have them enter a figure set every quarter, do they really need such an extensive license with everything on top of it, etc.?
Yeah, definitely.
There's also a business case to that as well.
Yeah, there's definitely question marks we can set with that. Yeah. Tim, do you see any interesting developments in the market regarding ESG further at your customer base?
Yes, I mean, in terms of, do you mean more in terms of the systems? I know Tagetik and OneStream are really putting a lot of effort into it in terms of that, and people are showing the interest, and there are some developments going in there. And I do think, based on this talk here, I think I'd like to also organize some events in terms of people to understand more. Yeah. Because I'm doing stuff in London already, a Friday Finance Club with CFOs and other people, where people just come in and discuss various elements and topics. But I think ESG is more hot than people would, it has to be there in the forefront. So even though the systems are there, I think better knowledge is needed in terms of how to do the project, and maybe it's more internal knowledge of a company rather than what's out there. They have to, as you said, talk to the different departments. What's there? Do they talk to each other?
It's a case of awareness.
Things like that. I mean, I know for a fact Tagetik, part of Walters Crew, they have a system called Enablon, which is a system which now they are starting to talk to each other in terms of Tagetik, and they're part of this division. I
think that's a pretty smart strategic move actually that they're making at Walters Crew, because they are addressing like the top layer of EPM and then the bottom layer of the data collection there.
Exactly, I think it's phenomenal.
Package. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
But I'm sure there's other companies out there who have systems which they can talk to each other and do that.
And you will also see all kind of partnerships being formed, where
definitely. And what about yourselves? Are you doing any ESG projects, or are you talking to your customers? How is the uptake there?
Yeah, we're running several ESG projects at the moment, and these kind of topics are the ones that are addressed there a lot. So the things that Wim just mentioned about having to insert data in a not really smooth way, and the report. So from a reporting angle, it's the solutions are pretty good. So when you, for example, take a data point, you can take from these different modules. You can see, okay, this data point is used there, and there. So you can reuse those data points over the various KPIs, and I think that's really neat, and that's really awesome to have. And export like reports like this is the comparison that we made for the total CO2 emissions. So because you have to convert everything to the same metric in order to compare apples with apples. Sure. And if you can give that to your auditor, then you could show that you are in control. And I think that's really strong. But there are, of course, a lot of challenges. Getting the buy-in from different departments. We see that this is new for a lot of people, so they don't know how to do it yet because of the regulation thing. It's not new in a sense that we've already been doing this at a lot of customers. Yep. So people are really looking at each other like, how are my competitors and how are my neighbors doing it?
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, that's also what you see in an event, that people are really asking each other, and how do you do this? And one of the things, sometimes we get a question, or I recently got a question from a customer that said, okay, we want to implement ESG reporting, and I think they were using OneStream, or still using OneStream. Very happy with it. And then they said, okay, we want to do this. There's all these ESG metrics in there, and then we said, okay, let's for one moment, let's check at the sustainability department what they have. And we found out that they were already using Sfera there. They had implemented Sfera, I think 2 years ago. So an enormous amount of information was already just available. And that helped to reduce complexity enormous. And we just had to pick up top level KPIs that we needed. We brought them into the platform, and sometimes it's good to just ask a question and realize that ESG is really a very cross-functional topic. Yeah. So you need to do. You really need to go out in your organization and have some conversations left or right.
Yeah, I think that's
a very important
general takeaway. Yeah. Just ask your colleagues who's already working on this, because somewhere in the company it must already be a relevant topic.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the end, you should get a board level buy-in. Yeah. But it's very likely that somebody in your company is already working on these kinds of things, if you're not aware already. Yeah.
For instance, facility departments. They also have to comply to their own real estate regulations in this country, and they have to report about how they will save energy and do the emissions. So that's another regulation, and it's totally. I think it's a bit off topic for a performance management solution. But when you are talking to your facilities department and you find out that they've made all these calculations for the other regulation, you can just pick up the data. And sometimes they've even implemented, of course, another separate solution for that. Yeah, that's a great find, and it makes life easier if somebody has part of your job already. So
it's a funny coincidence. I was working at a large insurance company about 5 years ago, implementing an IFRS change there, and I was sitting across the table from somebody from facilities, and the guy was totally not related to the finance department, but he was just sitting in the area. And I've been talking to this guy for once, and he was mentioning to me, "Oh yeah, I'm tracking all these incidents that we have in the company, and I'm tracking the health and safety guidelines, and all those kinds of nuggets of important data, those are already in your company somewhere. So you just have to find them."
Yes.
Completely.
Yeah.
I think we're going way over time, but I think that's fine, because it's a very interesting and relevant topic. I might even want to talk about this again in the future to see more recent developments. But for now, I would like to thank you very much for your attendance, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attendance, Wim.
Thanks for having me.
If you're interested in talking about ESG, or if you're interested in other questions that you have for the podcast, or even if you're interested in a career in finance, do not hesitate to send us a message over at podcast@finex.nl. I'm gathering the questions that I have from all my listeners already, and maybe you want to address even an episode in the future with just covering all these kinds of questions that I had from the audience. But for now, I would like to thank you very much. In the future, we will having the Future of Corporate Reporting, an event, and there will be the Friday Finance Talks in London. Corporate reporting is in the Netherlands, and then the London drinks are, of course, there. And I will make sure that you are able to subscribe or sign into those events in the show notes. So do check those out when you're done. And then I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.